Rusty, this ain't got nothing to do with faith. Ain't got nothing to do with faith, Rusty. You see, my man Rusty here says, how do you know that the Sumerian culture was 9,000 years ago? Oh, it's because you choose to put your faith in pseudoscience, carbon dating, and interpretation of others who also choose to not believe in the biblical or historical timeline. No, and let me say it one more time. A no. You see, it's not about faith that I look at the Sumerians being around 9,000 years ago. It is because of archaeological findings that demonstrate them being around 9,000 years ago. See, here's your problem. You're just looking at carbon dating, which can only be valid up to about 12,000 years or so, 13,000 years. Because the half-life of carbon, I believe, is like 6,000 some odd years. And then, so another end of that half-life is another 6,000 some odd years. Now, I don't like the way that they extrapolate even more years of a half-life of a half-life and a half-life of another half-life and a half-life. That's bullshit. Okay, I will grant you that part. But, sir, archaeologically, do we know when the Roman Empire ended? Yes, we do. Archaeologically, do we know when Julius Caesar began his version of the Roman Empire? Yes, in around 127. We have that through archaeological finds of coins and pottery and other things of that nature, and when they conquered and controlled the area. Do we know when they conquered the Greeks out of the Levant? We're going to stick to your little area. When they conquered the Greeks out of Levant, yes, we know that. Do we know how long the Greeks controlled the Levant? Yes, we know. Do we know when they took over from the Persians? Yes, we know when they took over from the Persians. Do we know when the Persians took over from the Babylonians? Yes, we know when they took over from the Babylonians. Do we know when they continued through the Assyrians and Akkadians and the Protos and all these other people? Yes, we know the timelines that these different kingdoms took over from the other kingdoms, most of it based on pottery, coins, as well as literature, that we know when they took over. But see, it's more than just literature. All your Bible got is literature. That's it. They ain't got nothing else but literature. There ain't no coin, there ain't no pottery, there ain't none of those kind of things. Like the first mentioning of the Israelites was in the Merneptah Stele in the 1400s. So that's our first indication of any Israelite people in existence from the Egyptian stele. So we have these things that tells us when these countries or kingdoms or city-states were in power. This is how we track it back to about when the Sumerians came into power and how long they were in power. It is not through faith, but through facts of archaeological findings that we can extrapolate this times. Also, we use geology to be able to tell when there were when we had different droughts and different events that created the Bronze Age, possibly created the Bronze Age collapse. We know when those things happen, bro. And it's all based on archaeology. Sorry, I had some teeth removed, so I can't talk hard right all the time. We know we have the archaeological work that tells us when these things happen. It is not based on carbon dating. So you try to make my point based on something that you wanted to say, to which I said nothing about carbon dating when I mentioned that. So don't put words into my mouth. Actually accept the words that I say and have something to say about those things. Now, you continue, and as far as your biblical historical timeline doesn't prove itself to be true, because the biblical timeline says that the Israelites came into and took over the Levant through the Exodus in and around the 1400s. Well, it'll be called the late 1400s, but the numbers are lower because that's how we measure time. But in the early 1400s is when they took over the Levant. Well, that is kind of hard that Moses went, 1300s, sorry, in the 1300s BCE. Moses went into an area that was controlled by Egypt. So they did not establish a brand new kingdom in Jerusalem during that time frame because they were not the ones in power. The Egyptians were in power in the Levant during that time frame. So, and we know this because we have letters and steles and tablets of orders that were given to the puppet regimes in the Levant by the Egyptians. We have letters that those who was in control were sending to the Egyptian pharaoh saying that there's uprising or taxations or different things of that nature to the Egyptian pharaoh who was in control. We knew they were a puppet state by their own accounts. And these are first-hand accounts, not your 5th, 6th, 2nd, 20th hand accounts that you have in your Bible. You said, just like me saying that the Sumerian timeline is false, because we know that the biblical creation was roughly 6,634 years ago, just so you be exact. If you go by the biblical timeline of who birthed who lived this long, who lived that long. That's how you got your timeline, which is you're taking that on faith that these people actually existed. See how that works? No, I don't see how that works, because you're just taking yours on faith, and you want to make mine be based on faith, so that you can have an equal standing of saying that both are by faith. And so if both are by faith, then neither one can be accurate. But no, mine is based on archaeology, it is based on literature, it is based on coins, it is based on pottery, it is based on actual archaeological findings, not based on the faith of a book that was written as a propaganda piece for a group of people that you now believe knew the word of your deity. So no, sir. Choose to put your where do you choose to put your faith in? Facts, and more facts. That's why you have to have the facts in order to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is not negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and oh my damn.